Okay, well, thank you very much for staying. It's been a long day, and I am the last one. Usually, not a very easy spot to fill. Um, so today, I'm going to speak about attacking and defending drones. There's several, plenty of presentations on the internet about defending or attacking drones. I try to get a particular point of view, and I have two demos for you today. I have some videos. Obviously, I have to do this recorded, right? Because one of the basically the demos, one is an indoor drone that I was able to compromise using a exploit drone exploit framework, and then the other one is an outside drone that I was able to basically I created what I call a pushman drone fence, and we're gonna look at this um, proof of concepts. We're gonna talk about what the implications for these things are for our environment, for our companies, for our society. There's a lot going on with drones, and I believe they will be part of our lives even more in the near future. So let's get started. Most of you know who I am. You talk to me in Slack or you talk to me in Pacific Hackers or whatever. I'm very out in the community. I'm Rod Soto, and I'm a researcher with Hack Miami and Pacific Hackers. I worked at Prolexic, um, Caspita, which was a AI UBA startup, and now I work at Splunk. Um, and I also worked at Akamai Technologies. Akamai Technologies is a company that sees around 30% or plus on the internet. So I have quite a bit of a experience on security operation centers, penetration testing. I still do penetration testing and red teaming on my spare time. And I done also quite a bit of threat intel, and I also do a lot of investigations in my spare time. I won the Black Hat Catcher the Flag in 2012. You can Google that; you'll see the picture or my tweet. And I co-founded Hack Miami and Pacific Hackers. And usually me and Marco and Kevin or Tyler, we're trying to move this on in the California and Northern California, and hopefully we will have good news for you, new things um, soon in the future. So let's talk a little bit about drones, or they're called sometimes UAV or UAS. So UAV is uncrewed aerial vehicle, and UAS is unmanned aircraft system. So the acronyms are used um, differently depending on the context, but we can all agree it's usually an aircraft without a human pilot, and it's an aircraft that sometimes have different autonomy. The autonomy can be isolated autonomy or connected autonomy. For the most part, it's connected, and usually based on ground-based controllers, system communications. So the communication goes back and forth. Um, and we are going to look at it and how the grace of autonomy can be more dangerous and increase the amount of risk that we look at on these devices. A little brief history. There's plenty of history out there. These are nick picks that I did for my presentation. 1800s is the earliest recorded use of a UAV for war fighting, and basically it was balloon carriers that were used during the 1800s in an offensive manner. In the 1900s, in World War II, and I put this in the note, during the Vietnam War, they were used for recon and attack. It's important. It's important to understand some of the drivers behind the drones. Like the USA only lost around 5,000 airmen during the Vietnam War. That itself is a big driver, right? Um, it also came along with a miniaturized components, right? The development of how we shrunk electronic components, we're able to put them together. And the development of RC controllers in the 50s, 60s, and 70s is also the commercial spread, like in hobby, RC planes and stuff like that. Then in the 1990s, obviously, we had the US and Israel collaboration, and we got Gulf War I. The late 1990s, 2000, we started seeing the weaponization use and enhanced command and control capabilities. And obviously, you know, since the war on terror, which is post 9/11, the drones have been a fundamental piece of a weapon against adversaries. In the 2010s, we saw increased autonomy. We saw the first aircraft carrier take off and landing, the application of stealth technology, and increased commercial availability. And during the 2020s, which is right now where we are, there's a lot of the testing and deployment in the commercial sector. So things such as delivery, transportation, surveillance, media, and home use. Believe it or not, there are right now in data drones that will patrol your house. Will patrol your house, call the cops, or send you pictures if you're outside. This is part of the future that we're about to see. There is definitely a component of pervasiveness, because components, usually like any industry, components get cheaper, the products get cheaper, and as the products get cheaper and easier to use, they become widespread. And with a widespread of these products, then a lot of new applications come up. So here's some UAS milestones, right? 1917, first drone, Ruston Proctor aerial target. 1950, advances in RC technology and flying systems. November 5th, 2002, was, according to some historians, it was the first American lethal drone attack. I didn't get into the specific of this. The links are there for you. I will be sharing this along with the videos, so you can click on it and go over it. In 2006, the FAA issues the first commercial drone permits. You have to, for specific drones, you have to register with the FAA. There are some restrictions. We'll look at it a little bit. In 2010, French company named Parrot releases the first commercial Wi-Fi controlled drone. Parrot is a very popular brand. They actually have some sort of an open source drone that many people are working on it, and we're going to look at it today. So this has definitely helped the adoption of this type of systems. In February 2012, we at Hack Miami created a prototype of a drone, and I put the link there. You can actually see it. This was February 2012. We were trying actually to submit for the DARPA challenge. We actually submitted a proposal for DARPA challenge, and I will tell you more about it later in this presentation. In 2013, first aircraft carrier takeoff in the US. 2016, first Amazon Prime delivery by a drone. I don't know why this is not happening right now. This is one of the things that actually I discovered as I was doing this research. 2018, first air kill developed by the United States. And in 2020, we have things such as the development of, or the delivery of drones of COVID-19 kits in Ghana, for example, and many other situations. By the way, I actually researched on that famous couple that supposedly was in a cruise in Japan and they got wine by a drone. Apparently that was a prank. That was not true. So that was not true. So the drone did not get to the cruise and did not deliver wine. So here's some of the general components of the UAVs. Obviously, you have to have a body. The body obviously has to be aerodynamic. You need a power supply and a platform. You need a computing unit, which is most of the processing and the actual coordination of things like sensors, actuators, and obviously with the software science. You can see that diagram. That diagram, I took that diagram from Wikipedia. I said, this is an overview. Here are some of the general components of a drone. They may vary depending on the brand, depending on the size, depending on the usage. So most of them have some sort of a rotor. Some of them are fixed wing. Some of them have flight controllers. Some of them have GPS. Some of them have satellite communications. Some of them are controlled via Wi-Fi or RC. Some of them have what is called an FPV, first-person vision, which is some sort of a goggles that allow you to pilot and maneuver the drones. So there's plenty of differences in components, but in general, you have a structure, some sort of a rotor or propulsion system, some sort of aerodynamic considered based on weight and materials, and some sort of a unit that will control the rotors and the sensors to keep this thing moving and going, and then it's something that controls it. That's pretty much it. So here are the some of the use examples. Mostly divided military and civilian. In the military, we have things like recon, logistics, combat, surveillance. That we're very familiar with the military. And the civilian, we have industrial, which we had drones that are surveying, for example, power lines or utilities or construction. Like, for example, I know of some companies that, for example, if they do your roof inspection, it will probably be done by drone. You will not see this guy like climbing or whatever. Nowadays, they bring a drone and the drone goes up and they know how to pilot it. In fact, our last video at the Hack Miami conference that we did at Miami Beach, parts of it was filmed by drone. The actual photographer was a drone pilot, and this is again the adaptation of new tech into businesses. So expect more of these. We also have delivery, inspections, and photography, just like I name it. Photography also is becoming sort of popular. There are some available commercial courses where you get certified as a pilot, and then you can, if you can offer to pilot for events. Some news channels actually have hired drone pilots. And of course, you have home for security, entertainment, which is obviously everybody wants to have fun with these things, or photography, personal photography. All right. So, of course, there are risks about it. And we did not come here to just hear about the nice and the rosy things about these devices. We're trying to look at this from the perspective of risk, from the perspective of being weaponized and used in malicious manners. So basically, if we're looking at risk, here's some of the general known risks associated with drone usage, right? So one of them is civilian misuse. So in civilian misuse, you have things that have, for example, drones that had hit airplanes. You have things that invasion of privacy. We have a lot of people that have used drones to on, for example, on nudist beaches. There's actually a video on YouTube of people throwing sandals at it. Some person that actually basically flew a drone into a nudist beach. And we do have things such as smuggling by criminal gangs. This has happened in jails, by the way. It has become sort of a more prevalent and used in jails because they procure phones, they procure food, they procure drugs. So these things are able to bypass defenses and at times even surveillance from jails, and they're able to do it. And one of the things they're doing is actually doing it across the border. They're sending drugs as well. This is happening everywhere, but we're not only here. It's becoming a unfortunately in usage of this type of devices. We do have a recent case of alerts done by the Department of Interiors, which ban Chinese-made drones, and DJI, which is a Chinese company, has been pointed out by some agencies, including some security agencies, as possibly sending telemetry data that may indicate and give sensitive information to a foreign intelligence service. So the use of these devices had been actually forbidden, and there was some company that was actually donating these devices. So the problem with this, and we're about to see that in the threat surface, is that many times these things can connect back, call back home, but we don't know. And that is definitely a threat vector. And of course, we had the weaponization on the terrorists using drones. And I put a picture there. As you can see, you can actually even buy a flamethrower. When you have time, go and watch the video. It's pretty funny. This thing is like throwing flames at everything. And you put the tech, the humans are going to find a way to make it crazy. So here's some recent and notorious drone instance. The one in 2019, which is the attack against Saudi Aramco. I do have a take on this of what happened, and I'll leave this for the end. Obviously, we saw, and this, I think everybody looked at it, which is what happened in Chile during the protests, which is, as you can see in the picture, there's a number of people directing lasers. These lasers, by the way, can be bought in Amazon. You can get these lasers. I did research on this, and if you see the video, you should take the time to see the video as well. You can see how it overwhelms the drone, and the drone eventually crashes. So that was kind of cool to see, but it tells you that there are ways to counteract these things, and just like they're used, there is a number of ideas and people using things to counteract the use of these machines. And of course, with the unfortunate pandemic we're going through, the Chinese were the first ones to use drones to talk to people and encourage them, quotation mark, to go back home. The Chinese led with this, were leading with this because it was repeated in the US, it was repeated in Italy, it was repeated everywhere. So it is there. The governments are using drones across the world to enforce quarantines and for security, obviously. So here's another sort of notorious, but also an example that these things can be used for very nefarious purposes. The one to the left is a drone basically carrying a gas grenades in Afghanistan, and the right one is the recent incident that happened in Venezuela, where apparently there were some drones that were targeting the president. The countermeasures work, by the way. If you actually look at the video, you can see how the drones start moving crazy. Those are countermeasures. And you can see how it exploded. It still caused quite a bit of a rumble when this was used. But this tells you that these things can be used. And it was also discovered that most of these drones were commercial. And that's some sort of what I'm about to get into it. Here's a category of drones, right? So you have the nano, which is something that is something less than 200 grams. The places I found is to use metric. Sorry for you can do your own conversions to imperial, but the operating altitude is usually less than 90 meters. The range is less than around 100 meters. The payload is obviously less than 200 grams. Then you have the micro, the mini, the small, and the tactical. Right here, we're going to talk about the small. What I found a MITRE calls the small unmanned aircraft vehicles, right? So this category is less than 55 pounds, cheap to acquire. You can buy this in Best Buy. You can buy this in anywhere, Fry's, Amazon, you name it. Ready and easy to fly. Many of them have pre-programmed flying functions. Do a 360, return to launch, take off from my hand, stay static. Some of them even have GPS. We're gonna see one today, which is the one that I used the demo for the demo. They are commercially available, no restrictions. Nobody there's you had to register, but the registration is almost like an honor system. I mean, if we have somebody that fakes an identity or uses or impersonates somebody, I'm not sure how accurate that is. Once the person acquires the system, um, some of them can carry a few pounds of payload, like you could see in the last picture. Like the small, the very small ones, like the nano or the micros, they may not have much of a payload. They still may carry some, but the bigger ones are definitely able to do so. They can evade most of the current countermeasures. There is no way to detect these things. They fly too low. Their fingerprint is also very small, and they're easy to conceal and deploy. Actually, that's what happened apparently in the plot in South America where these things were shipped. They were assembled. They were carried in different places. Different operators took them, assembled them together, and put together the operation. That's a danger. That's one of the dangers of these things. Um, and they can be used in multiple numbers with no infrastructure. You can actually manage this with Wi-Fi or RC controllers. Um, and you can actually get a phone with the app, and that's it. You're ready to go. Um, and we're about to see the implications of this I guess items I just spoke about. But remember, we're trying to look at this from the risk perspective. Obviously, if you look at this from the market perspective, and you're a person, you're a law-abiding citizen, you obviously these things are pretty awesome. You can fly. Then I purchased several of them, and I had a lot of fun, and my kids loved them, and it teaches in technology. But unfortunately, there's another use of this. So here is something that I found from MITRE. MITRE basically has an spectrum of the unmanned aerial systems. So this spectrum goes from the operator's intent, the technical complexity, the standardization, the flight controls, the number of aircraft, the command and control links, and the cyber protections. So basically, you can have a person that is uninformed and basically flies the drone close to the airport gets closed. That is something unintended, that's misused. Um, you can buy a parrot like a Mavic, for example, or a any other in the same category, and they will fly up to over 1,000 feet. So you could, if you're close to an airport, you can cause a lot of issues here, including flying aircraft as well. So the technical complexity, it goes from toys to highly sophisticated. So we have consumer grade things that you can buy, things that are commercial grade. For example, the drone that our photographer used is a little more expensive. Usually those drones cost above the $1,000 mark. And we had things that flight control, for example, that some of them have visual navigation. You can use the goggles. You can use GPS waypoints in some of them. You have automatic return to launch. We're going to see that today in one of the demos, and remote control. And also we have a number of aircrafts. The concept of swarms, which is sending a bunch of drones in a coordinated manner or uncoordinated manner, it depends on the number of operators, you may still pull it off. It can definitely cause a lot of trouble. And depending on what drone you're using and what type of payload you can carry, that's something that you have to consider. And then, of course, cyber protections. If you have anything that is Wi-Fi connected, obviously Wi-Fi is an attack vector. If it disconnects by an RF is the attack vector. If you have satellite, then satellite is the attack vector. So we're going to see this in a minute of how on the threat surface, this is sort of extensive, but it's interesting how these researchers divided this in basically between the CIA, confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So as you can see here, there's a number of attack vectors that target network stuff, target kinetic stuff, target humans, target communication links, the threat surface can definitely be quite extensive depending on the number of either components, sensors, and features of the machine that we're looking at. The ones that we're looking at here are pretty simple, mostly controlled by Wi-Fi. The outdoor we're going to look today had GPS. Those type of drones, according to what I researched, are not really a major threat. They can be used for disruption. Like, for example, there was one case that somebody flew a drone and there was a president speaking in Europe and they had to stop the summit because obviously they don't know that this drone has something in it or whatever. But think about it, probably a commercial, something that you can order from Amazon, disrupted a president's meeting. So that is actually one of the problems with this things, because they're small, they're easy to conceal, and as about to show you, not easy to detect. They can represent a serious threat. Mostly, I would say in the when we're talking about small drones, they can be used, for example, to disable things like termites and that things that have rotors or things that have engines where the drone can get in and damage it, or even for assassination. Depends on how clever and how sophisticated the plot can get. So here's some of the examples, right? How we will attack a drone. Obviously, we need to look at sensors, and the sensors we have video, audio, navigation. You can blind a drone with lasers. You can. One of the theories that I read about what happened in Chile was that the heat from so many laser pointers eventually overloaded the sensors. Same thing as the cameras. And you will see, actually, during my first demo, you will see that the drone actually warns you and say, "Hey, I can't see very well. The vision's not, the visibility is not very well. So I'm not sure if I should. There might be more malfunctions as flying." You'll see that I found that very interesting. So that tells me that if I point at something, it doesn't have to be a laser, but a visual stimuli that is strong enough that overwhelms the camera, I might be able to, in fact, disrupt the flight of this aircraft. The physical layer, kinetic, right? Kinetic, you can shoot the drone, right? You can shoot, or you can throw a net. You can always do it, right? So there's been cases there's people actually being charged because they shot at a drone with a shotgun. The link layer, basically what we want is telemetry. And in telemetry, we want to disrupt things such as line of sight, or we want to overwhelm it like jamming or DDoS it, which is distributed denial of service. Maybe send several points of stimuli that basically confuse the sensors, and then if there is not enough of a countermeasures for what we're sending, the drone might be able to keep its track, or basically will decide to do an RTL, which is return to launch on, in cases it will crash. Network layer, we have basically we have to target either the RF component, the Wi-Fi component, satellite, or even mobile, which is some of the things that are being implemented with the advent of the beginning of bringing private cellular networks and things like 5G. So those are definitely um, things that we have to consider if we're going to attack this on the network layer. In this case, what you're going to see, basically, we're going to compromise Wi-Fi, if it was an RF based controller, you can overwhelm it, or you can use a jammer, or there are certain products for it. I will go in a minute. And then, of course, there's a traffic controller. In the traffic control, you have the things like the GNSS, GPS, or ADSB. So then you can jam or spoof GPS. You can create objects with ADSB, for example, that will trigger collision, avoiding collision mechanisms. Or if they're using radar, it will force the actual aircraft to divert. So these are some of the vectors that we'll be looking at. So let's look at how we will defend against these things. Number one is usually is embedded in some of the commercial drones. It's a geofence. Geofence is basically embedded geofencing software, meaning there is a number of coordinates where once the aircraft detects there's nearby on the flying system, it will not go in it, or it will retreat from it because it's basically marked as no fly zone. And this is being used in airports, and it's being used for many other events where they do not want, obviously, drone intrusions. Of course, there's, again, the manufacturers have done some effort and embed this into their products. However, as we saw recently on Heathrow, Heathrow was paralyzed for, I believe, a couple of days because somebody was just flying a drone around. Detection radars, which are specifically designed for UAVs. UAVs are usually smaller and very hard to detect by traditional radars. So there is a new generation of radar systems that are being adapted or created for the sole purpose of detecting UAVs. Other detection systems that I was able to reach is acoustic, basically detecting the sound of the rotors. These things cannot stop fixed wing or free fall rotors, or sound that can be spoofed and replayed to actually confuse the detection system. So the systems have sort of a weakness, and it cannot be deployed as a single measure. Radio frequency. Most of the drones that I look at that were commercially available were using some sort of an RF command and control link, and this can be detected by different means, and they can be attacked. We would see that this can also be evaded by going radio silent and using some sort of a inertial navigation system, which is, I won't get into this yet. And it's also electro-optical. Electro-optical is basically optical and thermal sensors that may detect sort of a heat signature. What happens, unfortunately, with the system, since they may confuse and do false positives with actual birds because of the heat that they produce. So here's defense of some of the tools for defense. And we have things here such as the jamming the C2. You can jam the C2 by using some sort of a gun. This is actually available. You can look at it, and usually the frequencies that some of these drones fly is actually 2.4 or 5.8 gigahertz. So basically what you have is some sort of a device, and that looks almost like a Yagi antenna attached to some pump stock that's basically targeting a drone and attempt to basically disable it. Like I said before, Depending on the system that you're targeting, this may work or not. Um, Also, like I said before, you can attempt to tamper with global navigation system jamming. The problem with doing this is there might be collateral damage. Like people are driving around will be affected. Airplanes that rely on this might be affected. A lot of this stuff, by the way, that I'm saying is borderline, can get you in legal trouble. So I personally wouldn't do these things unless there is a rules of engagement uh, in a legal context that allows to do this. So always consider that in mind. I get a lot of sometimes calls from friends and colleagues that tell me, "Hey, I got this problem." At one time, somebody called me, asked me, "We got this person that's constantly flying their drone above, close to our building. We think he's trying to crack Wi-Fi or take a look at some of our products." When you do this type of things, you always have to consider the legal framework because you don't want to get in trouble, obviously. And if you use a countermeasure that is overwhelming, there might be collateral damage, and the collateral damage may bring legal consequences. So be careful with this. Also, you have the ADSB, which basically, I think somebody spoke today about this during the SDR talk at Hack Miami. You can generate fake aircraft via SDR. There are several SDR available. I will show you a picture of some of them. To overwhelm the radar and trigger collision avoidance systems. We had a presentation at Hack Miami 2017 by Will's Net. There's the YouTube link so you can see it. It's something that you should definitely review. So of course, a kinetic defense, you can shoot the drone point. You get that looks very silly, but hey, you can still do it. There is you can throw like a net on it, and then you know, uh, who knows? Maybe there's an explosive when you go and pick it up. So I'm not sure about these things, but they still, of course, you can still use them. Here's something that I wanted to talk to you about, and that is you have to be careful of the countermeasures. So the countermeasures are things that can be used to bypass many of these defenses that we looked at. You can put all those defenses together, but there's still countermeasures that may allow malicious actors to go through and be successful in their attack. I put a picture there of what you see there is supposed to be a Houthi kamikaze drone. Now, as you can see there, it's fixed wing, right? So when you have things like fixed wing, inertial navigation system, or INS, embedded autonomous navigation, multi-layer sensor, botnet mesh-like resilience. We actually proposed this in DARPA Challenge in 2012. In 2012, we made a proposal of botnet drones that we're going to use. Basically, we're going to emulate what the SUSE malware did. The SUSE P2P, which basically, as one of the C2s falls, then the other one takes over. And then if you have a mesh network, you can always bounce around the C2 in a way that the botnet continues to be operated. This is a botnet type of countermeasure technique, which is not new. And we proposed this in during the DARPA challenge. By the way, we were going to make a bunch of drones off the shelf and develop the software based on some of the botnets that we were looking at. We were not affected, so unfortunately, we never saw fruition of this. But that's definitely something that will, if you're using, for example, a group of drones or what I call the swarm, if you use something like a mesh like C2 peer-to-peer command and control, where you can actually extend the range of it, even if one of them gets taken down, or the C2 link to controller gets taken down, that definitely increases the chances that attack will be successful. Same thing with fixed wing. Fixed wing systems can, for example, glide, and even if you turn off the entire system, it will still fly, and it will still go through, which is what I think happened in the incident in Saudi Aramco. I believe that these individuals used drones that were fixed wing, that had embedded navigation systems. They had to have some sort of a recon, a target. And then once they got close to it, they must have turned off every kind of signature. What are the signatures? Heat, propulsion, noise, and they bypassed a number of countermeasures, including a Patriot defense system. So this is to tell you that these things can succeed and can bypass defenses of against or countermeasures against drones. So this is a clear and present threat that can be used by malicious actors, and we had to pay attention to this. I'm sure there will be a market developed around these things. There is already, but right now, several of these devices can be successful if we have a clever and sophisticated enough adversary to perform an attack. And the Houthi kamikaze drone is a proof of that. That you couldn't get more more defenses that the Saudi Aramco will have, right? So, all right. So here's some of the tools. I told you I was going to give you some pictures of the available stuff in the market. So obviously HackerF is one of them. I have one. It's a nice research tool. I don't think it's that powerful to create, for example, a drone fence or to emulate a gun shooting, put like a Yagi on it and target a drum. My research did not produce, let's say, successful results using this as a countermeasure. There are jammers. You can use jammers as well. Again, the jammers, be careful with jamming. Jamming can get you in trouble. So if you're going to use this, or you're going to place, there's a security context and legal context that allow you to do these things. Like that, this has to be in a context where it's lawful. So you just can get in and say, I don't want people to fly above my house. It's just going to put a jammer. You can't do that. By the way, during my capture the flag games, I seen people jam the actual spectrum. Like I couldn't post to Twitter. People could not actually do research. The Wi-Fi died, and I had warned people, this is illegal. You can't do that. So I don't know, you might be in one country where this is legal, but in the United States, this is not legal. Be careful. Again, I cannot emphasize this enough. So these are some of the toys. I guess I call some of them toys because they're not really production. Don't rely on this. If you want to do some research and you are like, for example, in a law enforcement organization, or you're in a big organization, you want to use commercial grade stuff and you want to test it. If you are a researcher and you want to test these things against certain things, then yeah, there's a value. But my experience is that these things, even though they're available, they're not. How can I say this? They're not equal to the threat that we're facing. And there's a presentation from Henry Sekovi in Hack Miami that I suggest you to watch, where he goes more in depth of some of the things that are available for countering drones. So here's some of the interesting tools. One of them I'm going to use today, and one of them is Dronesploit, which targets and attack drones, mostly nano. If you remember the category that we have, we're going to be targeting nano drones. There's also DroneJack, and there's also SkyJack. Some of these target, obviously, manufacturers. And these are the things that you can look at. It may give you some ideas for attack vectors, and it may give you some educational knowledge about how some of the things that we had discussed about targeting these systems. So let's go on the demo. So here's my first demo. My first demo is a DJI Tello, which is an indoor, it's an indoor drone, nano, has a video resolution of 720p. It can fly up to 100 meters. It weighs around 80 grams. It can fly at around 10 minutes, not 30, around 10 minutes. It can go up to 29 kilometers per hour. That I haven't tested. And it can fly up to 100 meters. That I did not test either. But it depends mainly on Wi-Fi. So here's a screenshot so you understand the video. What you see on the top left is me using Kali. On the top right is DroneSploit, and on the bottom right is the actual video from the drone. So let's watch it. Let's see if I can just go straight into it. Can you guys see my screen?
Yes, we can see it.
Okay. Right. So, all right, cool. So here's the video. Let me explain it. This will be published in YouTube too. So here it goes. There's no audio, so I can go and talk about it. So what you see below is basically the operator. The operator, which was my girlfriend, and she very nice of her to help me. Basically connects to the drone. The drone is on top of the table, as you can see. Now we have connection. We can see the video. Look at that. It gives you a warning. It tells you the ambient light is too weak. And now ask you to take off. Drone takes off. And as soon as the drone takes off, I run the attacking framework. With the attacking framework, basically what I'm doing is trying to find the link between the cell phone and the drone, right? So this is a Wi-Fi attack. Basically, the most of this off-the-shelf indoor and some outdoor drones have passwords that are too easy, like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So you can use things such as Wi-Fi, or you can use crack and G, and basically you can be authenticated, or you can even guess the password. And with a framework like what you're seeing there, you can take over the drone. And as you can see, the drone is flying, and I am basically changing commands and changing my nick in order to be able to connect to the drone. I connect to the drone, as you will see in just a second, and then eventually I issue a command to do an emergency landing. And once that happens, you'll see the drone drop, and then you'll see how the video goes away. So this should happen soon. You notice that there's a warning about interference, right? That is basically the network card. You can use this with a network card that you can inject packets, or basically an alpha, or some of those TP-Links are actually pretty good. And we should be able to see the drop of the drone in just a second. Watch how the video goes away and the drop falls. And there's the command. This is available on GitHub. You can download and run it on Kali. Obviously, this was done within my home. This is a proof of concept again. And as you can see, it wasn't that easy. It took several attempts, but eventually I was able to connect and then execute the command. So you see the drone drops. You can also connect and turn it back on. So why did this happen? This happened for two reasons. The authentication was weak, even though you can actually perform all their Wi-Fi attacks and you can still be successful. And two, they rely only on Wi-Fi. So that is my first proof of concept. Let me go back to. And here's the link. It will be available tonight. Here's my second demo. So in my second demo, I wanted to use an outdoor drone. I don't have enough budget to buy myself like a big drone, and most of them use RF. And I really didn't want to get into the RF business for now. I wanted to target the Wi-Fi first, and then I want to look at the RF. I know the RF needs to be done in a much more controlled environment. So I was able to find this drone, which is pretty cool, by the way. This drone is called the CME drone. Unfortunately, the company went out of business, but it has GPS and Wi-Fi. And then what we're gonna see here, this drone was produced in 2017, and I don't take. I've gone out and took some nice, taking some nice shots, and it's actually a pretty nice drone, but relies on Wi-Fi, right? So although it relies on Wi-Fi and also relies on GPS, so there's two attack vectors that you can address there. Like I said again, we looked at the GPS. The GPS did not work, and I believe because it relies a lot on what the phone is sending, and I believe the HackRF is simply not. It's not there. I mean, like if you actually go and look at some of the stuff that you can do with GPS with the HackRF, you basically have to put the target right on top of it. So there's not much. Like I said before, be careful when you're using this thing. So it's not really what sometimes they're advertised for. So in this case, I targeted a outdoor GPS Wi-Fi CME drone. I put the actual links so you can buy it yourself if you want to experiment and play with it. It's a nice drone actually. It does a 360. You can take pictures. It will allow you actually to connect two phones to it. One of them can navigate it. The other one can look at the camera. So this is cool stuff. So with this, let's look at the second one. So the second one, once again, I got some PHACK stuff here. So in this case, on the top left is the outside camera. We did this outside, and we put it right into close to a pound, close to sort of a little lake. So in case something went crazy, went to the water, we didn't want to affect anybody or hit anything. So then you see on the top left the camera of the drone, and then you would see that eventually the drone hits the top height. I execute the attack, which is basically a disabled Wi-Fi. You will see how the Wi-Fi is disabled, and then the drone does an RTL, which basically goes back and lands again. You see, this is outdoor mode. Drone goes up. That's me, and that is the antenna that I use. I use an outdoor Wi-Fi antenna. I think I overwhelmed it, to be honest. And there's the drone landing again. And that's what I call a postman drum fence. So this thing can go actually way higher. But again, I only have one drone, not much of a budget. So we sort of did this. We wanted to research what was going to happen, but I also couldn't afford to start buying drums because it's expensive. So let's see if we can get back here. So that's my second drone. This will be published, and there's the link. And with that, I'll open it for questions, and thank you very much. I hope this was worth your time. No questions?
I think some of them you already covered. Like the first one I see here is why the multiple green lasers cause the drone to crash in South America. I think you already can answer that one.
The lasers basically overwhelm. There are several theories. One of them is that the operator could not see. The other one is the sensors that heat up, and that was kind of crazy because if you actually look at the video, there's so many of them that it must have gotten very hot, and that may have taken the actual drone down. Let's see what we got.
Um, I can actually talk about the last one. The last one is from Lenin. Is there a restriction to transport drones on the airport, like in your carrier? No,
not
there's
that I know. Not that I know.
no. Actually, I do have two drones as well, but they were actually expensive drones. And I'll tell you a funny story. There used to be a balloon race where I used to live, and recently, I'm talking about like 2014, 2013. I recently bought one of the DJ DJI drone 3, whatever, and I was so smart to take it to the balloon race and did a flyover and started, basically recording 4K all the balloon races until suddenly I got from the speaker, we noticed a drone. Can you please take it down? And I did, but they did push it, like it came back to me, and at that point I didn't have control of it. But then after that, my drone stopped working, and
Right.
I couldn't make it fly anymore. So I took it to DJI support. They have to exchange the whole motherboard. But up until now, I still don't know what exactly happened, what they did to it. I mean, I can understand there was a jammer, but other than that, I don't know what exactly they did to actually kill the motherboard, because after that, the drone was not useful. I couldn't use it. And then
Sorry.
going back to the question, I mean, I traveled with that drone to different countries, like Mexico, for example. I did some video shooting over there, and to different states in the U.S. I never had any issues. I mean, they always questioned what it was, and back in the day, it was kind of like a new thing on drones. So they always took it out, asked me what it was and stuff like that. But that's basically it. No major issues.
Right. The same thing with the batteries. The batteries are considered. It's almost like when you bring. I mean, when I travel, like when most of us travel, DEFCON, if there are things there that are much more dangerous than drones, like all kinds of electronic equipment, badges and stuff. They usually treat that like TSA would check it, but if they would check it for explosive and stuff like that. But other than that, there's really no restrictions. There's just really no restrictions. The airspace above you, I think there is a limitation, and that's how the paparazzis get around it. Just so you know, there is a limitation of how high is your space. I don't have it with me. I can look it up, but I did look up that I noticed that some of the paparazzos were actually playing with that limit in order to fly above some celebrities.
Yeah. So back when DAI started gaining like being noticeable about their drones, people start buying them. So I remember that's also about the time the FAA start asking people who were buying drones to basically register them, otherwise you couldn't fly them. Also back in the day, there was a case where someone, a guy, and this guy was actually filming this teenager, swimming in the pool. So the dad went out and shoot the drone. Well, the the guy who actually had the drone filming for purposes that for his own, he did not get in trouble, but the dad did because he shot the drone. So there's always a gray area between um, what you're filming. I mean, actually, if you go to the FAA now, there's actually more explanation of what you can do and where you're not. Where can you fly? Where can you not? Also, you mentioned the geofencing. So now all the software that comes with that they have like the GPS coordinates, like you mentioned. But you cannot shoot the drone. However, you can put jammers, like to basically not to go to that area basically. But again, it's almost like the same thing. If you ask me, it's in the gray area. So
Right.
that's how I see it.
Right. There's still a lot. Uh, there you go. Let's click on that.
Yeah.
Yeah, so here's a there it is. So prohibit use of drone to capture photographs or video of person that violates their privacy, such as drone spy on celebrities. That's oh yeah. No.
Yeah, and obviously that one, that's because Hollywood, right? So uh, that was pretty much like the first one.
By the way, they just arrested somebody during the Super Bowl, by the way, in Miami Beach, that was flying a drone because they were trying to get all this. That footage is a lot of money.
Exactly, and that was the other thing too. I mean, the first time when they come up with the laws, they said it was because of you can cause harm, like physical harm, not really about copyright or anything like that. But as the laws progress, and as people with money start saying all these things, now it became like a copyright. It became like something along the line. Uh, and yeah, I can imagine. So
Thank you, Alex, for posting that. Also, I see there that it says the law passed in 2016 makes it a misdemeanor to interfere with any emergency services. Well, if you guys saw my actually my first slide is about an ad from California that basically says if you fly we can't, which is this one, and it's because during the wildfires, there was a lot of amateur people filming and flying drones, and then there was a problem flying the helicopters. So that's important, and thank you for bringing that up. Any other questions?
um, I don't see any other questions unless I missed something.
I don't think so. So if there's no more questions, my slides will be posted tonight around 8 p.m. Um, Pacific, and I'll thank you very much for staying this late. I know it's been a very long day today. Uh, this It's been quite a bit of a day. I hope everybody enjoy it. Thanks to Lennon. And thank you. You are the guys that make this possible. Join the Slack. Join us. Some of us are jumping for now to that CTF channel, and we're gonna keep pounding that hackasat and see if we can get somewhere. Again, thank you very much for attending, and we'll see you soon. I'm not sure if the person that's supposed to speak on our next meeting is here. It was about Nessus. But if not, we will find a presentation soon. Uh,
Yeah, I'll commit now. I'll do the DDWRT, which is the continuation of Phil Morgan's on Wi-Fi. There was for the people who attended that meeting. Some people were asking things you can do with your current Wi-Fi web access point, and there was a discussion on DDWRT, and some people didn't know about it. So that's when I said, well, basically, DDWRT is turning your $100 web access point to a $1,000 web access point. Because now it will give you more capabilities. So it looks like people um, you know, were asking about it. So I'll do a presentation on that. Now I don't have the date yet, but that's next. Either it will be on the 6th or the weekend after. That I don't know yet.
right, right. We did a lot of presentations during May. So we had June, July. We were supposed to have the pre-DEFCON meeting, and Obviously, there's not going to be DEFCON, but there will be villages. So maybe we can come up with something, guys. So stay tuned. And hope you guys join the Discord. Send me an email for the Slack. And again, thank you for your time. This is all about you. And we'll have surprises hopefully for you and better things to come once things are normalized. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Alex, for a great presentation, and see you guys next time.
Bye-bye.
Thank you, guys. Bye-bye.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.